1. Are you ready for some high school football?
Welcome to Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve.
And it starts right now.
And now it's time for football in Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve.
Somebody fire me up!
Hello again and welcome to Plainsmen Football 2016 with Steve and Steve. Coach Steve Hayes to my right. Coach, you fall to 3-5 overall for the year, 2-3 in district play due to the loss last Friday night with Stillwater Pioneers, and the score was 35-10.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
What's your observations of the game? I know you had some injuries that impacted kind of the flow and the enthusiasm for the game, but overall, what took place?
You know, we started out, I think, doing a pretty good job. We defensively held them their first 3 possessions, actually had great field position on their end of the field, and scored 3 points, had an opportunity after a fumble recovery and a return for about 30 yards to go in and score again. But during that process of those 3 offensive drives, we lost our top 2 running backs, and that really, I think, affected our body language and energy, which is unfortunate because it causes you to do even worse than you would do without those kids in the first place.
Sure.
And so I think we recovered at halftime and became more competitive again in the second half. But boy, for the next quarter and 2 minutes, we really struggled trying to reconcile with that. And then the second half, both of our quarterbacks were knocked out of the game for a little bit. And, that it's hard when you're down to struggling with an injured quarterback catching snaps. And so it's a tough night. You know, my hat's off to Stillwater. They were much more physical and tougher than us in the way that they played. And was very deserving of the win.
And that physical part of the game is you really can't measure that till kickoff, because I know we talked during last week and you said or felt that everybody was prepared. You had a good week of practice. Yeah. Game day preparation was going according to plan. But then all of a sudden that physical element can, come into that game and just really change things up a little bit.
Well, I think if we had been able to keep Will healthy in the first half and he'd been a part of both those drives, it could potentially have been 14-0 at that point. I think he's that big of a difference maker for us. And then especially when you lose Marlowe, which also impacted our defense because both those guys had critical roles in our game plan defensively, and some backups were playing that we're not supposed to play. And so that has an impact, I think, on the defensive side of the ball and their energy as well. And, obviously you'd love to play somebody healthy for an entire game and see what the outcome would be. But I don't think that the outcome should have been that big of a margin difference without those 2 kids.
Well, Coach, as we move into the segment on the highlights, which we were just pleased, and thank you for allowing your assistant coaches to put these highlights together for us, allow us to play. I understand that we're going to see a couple great catches. Will Phillips has a catch that you've referred to. Also, there was the fumble recovery and some other big plays. What else are we going to see on the highlights here?
You're going to see a couple really good catches by Colton Troxel for first downs on the first couple catches he had in the game. And then
Colton's played well this year for you, right? With
Colton's,
the catches?
He's been a fantastic player for us and improved every week. And Matt, just a big dynamic part of our offense, as well as starting on defense. He's a 2-way player. Will Phillips' touchdown catch, also an interception by Will. Trent Musa had a scoop and fumble return for about 30 yards in the first quarter. That was a great play by him. And then a tremendous tackle, very physical tackle by Josh Faulkner. For a loss and a drive-ending play for them. So,
well, it's always an exciting time to see the playbacks and also the highlights from the ball game. So thank you for joining us on Plainsmen Football 2016 with Steve and Steve. And right now, let's take a look at the highlights from the Plainsmen ball game with the Stillwater Pioneers from last Friday night. Welcome back to Plainsmen Football 2016 with Steve and Steve. I hope you enjoyed those playbacks, the highlights of the game of last Friday night with the Pioneers and the Enid Plainsmen. Coach, I know we'll have more highlights and more exciting highlights that are in our favor for next week. Well, it's a special time that we get to introduce, or you get to introduce, I guess, our student athlete. And the gentleman to my immediate right is Chaz Ospina. Is that pretty close?
Pretty close.
Am I getting in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
As you can tell, Chaz, a healthy guy, probably plays on the defensive side of the ball. Coach, he's all yours.
You know, Chaz is a great person to have on the show. He's a senior this year, has been a part of the football program all 4 years in high school. Okay. And, man, you talk about a model of consistency and character. He shows up every day, works hard every day, is a great teammate. He plays a role for us as a defensive lineman, comes in certain situations in the game, and does a great job of helping our kids prepare during the week before the game as well. And just, you know, guys like Chaz are the guys that really make your team successful because they're the backbone, behind-the-scenes guys that nobody sees but really are the personality and character of your team. And so I appreciate everything he's done.
And as coaches, you need those individuals that you can count on.
You do.
That are dependable.
Yeah, and I definitely think that describes Chaz. Chaz, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody what your number is so they can come look for you at the game.
All right. I'm number 67. I play defensive tackle.
Yep, that's right. Now, Chaz, you've been in the program for 4 years, and my guess would be that Chaz as a freshman looks a whole lot different than Chaz as a senior. So talk a little bit about how you've grown and improved as a person and a player in the last few years.
Going into my freshman year, my main sport was wrestling, so I wasn't as big as I am now. But throughout the 4 years, I put some weight on and put a lot of work in the weight room.
Yes, you have.
I was able
quite
to
a bit stronger.
I was able to get to how I am now.
Yeah. So how much do you think your bench press has improved in 4 years?
Probably, let's see, 140 pounds.
140 pounds. That's pretty awesome. That's probably over more than doubled, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Now, are you planning on wrestling again this fall?
You know, I don't think so. I think
Really?
I'm gonna
We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
We need to work on you some. We need to work on you some. It'd be good for you to do that. Now, what are some ways that you'd like to contribute in the next couple weeks to the team and help the team improve?
I just want to be the best I can on the field, you know, try to help out the team any way possible.
Yeah. What are some ways you think personally you can improve in the next couple of weeks?
Personally, just during practice, go hard and try to help the other teammates improve.
Yeah, that's good, Chaz. You're that iron sharpens iron guy. I appreciate that. What's been your favorite football memory?
I think up to date was after our Choctaw win when we were able to get the touchdown in the last few seconds and just how happy everybody was and celebrating going on.
Yeah, I wish we could put that in a bottle and just keep that for a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's a pretty special moment. Now, Chaz, you are a senior. You'll graduate in May. What are your future plans? And
after high school, I think I want to go to the University of Arkansas.
All right.
And maybe do like criminal justice study, something like that.
I mean, you know what? I would feel very good about somebody like you being a part of our legal system. That's fantastic to hear. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Chaz, let me ask you a final question as we close out our student-athlete segment. Excuse me. You've been involved in a team environment, team sports for a number of years. And for the individual that's watching the show and they're watching you and the way that you respond to all these questions, my question to you is simply, what are you going to take away from this team experience? You know, I think often there's individual sports, but football can be heavy, rely on the person to your right and to your left. So what are you going to take away?
I think just during off season, you got to put in everything you got so you could be there for your brother, your teammate during in season. You know, it takes 11 people on the field to do the job, so everybody has to do their part.
And I think you touched on it, Coach, as well, when Chaz said the Choctaw game. It wasn't individual celebrating, it was a team celebration on that last one. Yeah. And until you're in that environment, it's tough to understand that. So, well, Chaz, congratulations. Coach, any more thoughts, any more questions for your defensive tackle here?
I think Chaz represents everything we want in MDAL, and really is, you know, if every one of our players could have his character and dedication, our potential would be unlimited. We're real proud of him.
Yeah. Well, Chaz, thank you for being here at the Enid Television Studios. We appreciate you being on Plainsmen Football 2016. And this will play back over and over, so hopefully, you know, months from now, you'll look at this and say, oh, okay, I remember that day. So anyway, number 67, is that right?
Yes, sir.
On the defensive side of the ball, defensive tackle, Chaz Ospina, Enid Plainsmen. So, Chaz, thank you for being here. Now let's take this time out, and we need to meet some additional Plainsmen football players, and we'll do that right now.
Jaime Ponce, senior, kicker, punter.
Brian Pemberton, junior, D-tackle.
Josiah Belcher, linebacker, fullback, sophomore.
Colin Dodd, sophomore, right tackle.
I'm Nick Anderson. I'm a junior. I play O-line.
Welcome back to Plainsmen Football. I hope you enjoyed our student-athlete segment. Coach, I really appreciate you bringing these athletes because when I get to see them play or I see them out in the community, I remember the interaction we had with them, but also I get to see how they interact at practice and things of this nature. Yeah. Now, folks need to know that it's just not all Friday night. I mean, you have JV, you have Monday ball games. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that preparation? Big Friday night game, win or loss. Yeah. The week continues. The weekend takes place, and boom, here's Monday. So what does Monday look like for you all?
You know, we're really preparing 3 teams each week to play. Monday nights are the JV and freshman groups, and they're both doing well. They're both 6-1 right now. Our JV is undefeated in district, and so they're having a fantastic year. And so Monday's practice will be a combination of installing our game plan for Friday and getting those groups ready for the game tonight. And it's 2 different teams. We're playing Stillwater tonight and Midwest City on Friday. And so Monday's practice is pretty intense as far as learning is concerned, pretty easy as far as physical. It's a busy. Mondays are busy days.
And typically when the JV plays on Monday, when is kickoff? As people watch this show, and it'll repeat over and over, and as they just make their Monday evening plans.
Yeah, JV will play tonight at 7. Freshmen play at 5, and then next week they'll play their last game of the season at Midwest City at 5 and 7 as well.
Okay, very good. Well, Coach Hayes invited us out to kind of, I guess, open the window up a little bit and kind of give us an insight of behind the scenes on game day preparation. And, Coach, we will talk a little bit more about game day preparation, but I'd like to show this little video clip that our Enid Television Network staff produced and put it together. And for the viewers, we hope that you see a little insight on what the game day meal is all about and really some of the behind the scenes preparations for the game of that evening. And we'll watch that right now.
Today's game day is unique in that the kids don't have school, and so they came up at about 11. We watched video for an hour, offensively and defensively, on our opponent and our practices. We video every practice, and so we grade the practices, and the kids look at it and fix their mistakes, and then we do a walkthrough of our game plan out on the field. That takes about an hour, and then we'll meet in our character groups. Our lesson this week was the 4-minute mile, Roger Banner, and it was fun talking about that and really what mental limitations we place on ourselves. And then your family church was very gracious to host our dinner today, so we're having spaghetti dinner before we'll load up on the bus around 3:30 and head to Stillwater and go through last preparations for our game tonight. So it's a full afternoon, but mentally the kids should be ready by the time they step on the field and have confidence in knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like a get-together. We all just eat and we talk about the game, and it's good preparation for us. We get to talk about, what our job is, what our role is to do tonight.
Just coming together as a team, basically get your mind right, get ready for it.
People, it's really, really, really important that they care person up to give us food like this. It's a great thing. It brings us together with our town. I mean, it's a great feeling. It's really good.
We're very appreciative of that.
Coach Hayes, well, I certainly appreciate the opportunity you extended to our ETN crew to go and kind of watch behind the scenes. A lot of food was consumed.
It's amazing how much spaghetti was put on those plates and eaten multiple trips.
And it's amazing the appetite those young guys have, if you will. As you saw, you had the opportunity to talk a little bit and share with the viewers what the game day preparation is all about. And you just kind of briefly touched on that. And then you had 2 of your special student athletes join us as well, and they shared their impact and what it all meant. And I like the fact that I think it was Mason who said, well, we just appreciate the community reaching out like this. Your thoughts on the relationship with the community, because you had mentioned there are several churches and even businesses that have offered game day meals for you. What does that mean to you as a head coach?
You know, our team population is so diverse. We have kids that come from so many different backgrounds and homes, and especially on a day like that when we're out of school, for them to provide healthy meals for our kids is such a difference maker. Probably the best meal of the day for all of our kids, honestly. And
excuse me, and I remember you making that comment Thursdays that you said that, this is probably, for some of you, probably one of the best meals you'll get for the day.
Yeah.
And that speaks to the diversity and the home background of many of your student athletes.
When I got here, I was told that almost 80% of our students are on free lunch program. And so, you think about that pays for their breakfast and lunch every day. On days they don't have school, you're not really sure what they've eaten that day.
Exactly.
And so for those churches and for local businesses to donate all that food and feed our kids and take care of our kids is such an expression of love and support that we're very, very grateful for.
Well, thank you again for extending the opportunity for us to kind of have our cameras behind the scene to see what took place in game day preparation.
Yeah, it was really neat for you guys to be there.
A lot goes on.
Yeah.
Well, the 4-minute mile was the character quality reference last week, I believe it was. And then this week you said leaving a legacy is the character emphasis for this week.
Yeah.
Explain how leaving a legacy to a 17, 18-year-old. How do you tie that together?
The Enid football history is so rich in teams that have done well, and there's so many stories behind the decades and decades of seasons that they've played. And now this is an opportunity for our seniors, because our last home game for our seniors, to finish writing that chapter for this season. And I think, you have to be thoughtful about that. I think too often we live our days kind of mindlessly and don't realize that the footprint that we leave and how important that footprint is. And, their influence on their younger teammates, the juniors and sophomores and freshmen, are their opportunity to have a voice in our program over the next 3 years. And the way that they finish and the way that they play becomes a part of that tradition, good or bad. And so, I think each person has a responsibility to do their best to make a difference. And when you go someplace, it ought to be better than you found it. And this is an opportunity for our kids to put the finishing touches on that, and really excited to see how they do.
Well, Coach, we'll come back in our final segment, and we'll talk about senior night. We'll talk about what that means to all the players and all the family members. And we'll talk more specifics about Midwest City as the Bombers come to town. They had a high-scoring affair last week, 7-0. Yeah. Who would have thought? So high school football on Friday, anything can happen. So the character quality emphasis for the Enid Plainsmen this week is leaving a legacy. And we'd like to remind you, as Coach Hayes would remind you as well, if you have a question about maybe game day preparation or decisions to go 4th and 1 when you go for it, just anything to do with Plainsman football, you can send your question to asksteve@enid.org. That is ASKSTEVE @enid.org. AskSteve@enid.org. And any question you have about for Coach Hayes, anything about Plainsman football, he'll be glad to ask. Okay. Thank you for joining us on Plainsman Football 2016 with Steve and Steve. Midwest City comes to town next week, and we're going to talk about the Bombers right after this.
Ryan Sanchez, junior, linebacker.
Peyton Phillips, junior, outside linebacker.
My name is Seven Owens, sophomore, wide receiver and corner.
Lincoln Sefcik, junior, wide receiver.
William Phillips, 2019, running back.
Coach Hayes, as we close out this week's show, again, thank you for taking time to come by the Enid Television Network studios and visit with us.
Pleasure.
And we appreciate the partnership the city of Enid has with Plainsman football and with Enid Public Schools and Dr. Floyd. Playoffs, 2 regular season games to go with Midwest City and Putnam City, as we said. Let's talk playoffs, the scenarios. Do you have to get a pad and pencil to figure this one out? I mean, with everybody winning and losing and then winning again and losing, it's just been pretty chaotic. How's it look?
It's a mess. I mean, right now we have 4 teams tied for that last playoff spot. It's us, Choctaw, who we've beat, Deer Creek, who we've beaten, and Stillwater, who we've lost to. And so these last 2 weeks are critical for all 4 of those teams. I anticipate that there'll probably be multiple teams with 4-3 records when the season concludes. And if that's the case, it goes down to head-to-head. If you beat out the people you're tied with, then you go in their place. And if there's not a clear winner in the head-to-head, then it goes to points, and that's margin of victory in district games up to 15 points. And so you get up to 15 points for a win, and then you get a deduction of however many points up to 15 for a loss.
Well, Coach, okay, I'm already dizzy, so just put it in layman's terms like this.
Yeah.
If what does it look like if you beat Midwest City?
If we win out, I think we have a very good chance of qualifying.
When you say win out, you're saying both games?
Yes, I do think we'll have to win both games. I think we'll have to end the year. I think that 4th place team will have 4 wins.
Okay.
And so if we're able to win our last 2 games with 4 wins, I think that there's a very reasonable chance for us to make it. I think we hold several tiebreakers in that case, and so just depending on who else wins out, and that's so unpredictable right now, but I think there's an excellent chance. After next Friday night, when we win that football game and see how the other teams work out, we'll be able to give a real clear answer as far as what has to happen after our Putnam City win.
And I'm quite sure the way the season has been, who you would think was going to win probably get beat Friday, and a sleeper comes back and beats someone, and you're just saying, okay,
well,
I didn't see this.
The other thing that's interesting too is our final game's on Thursday night, and so we'll have to wait for the results on Friday night to know how that shakes out. And so we'll go win Thursday night against Putnam City and kind of have to sit in anticipation.
I didn't realize that was a Thursday night game as well.
And so next 2 weeks are really, really important for our program. And as you can see by the way the other games in the district have played out, everybody has an opportunity to do it. There's no team right now that I would say is a lock.
Sure.
For any one of those spots, because you look at Midwest City, they've got to play us and Stillwater. They could potentially be 4-3 if they lose both those games, and so that would throw a wrench in the mix as well. Crazy times.
Well, it's exciting to talk playoffs, and senior night's coming up Friday night, so we encourage everybody to come out to Selby Stadium this Friday as the Midwest City Bombers come to town to play the Enid Plainsmen. Coach, any final comments to the parents and the fans and everybody here in the community? Senior night, Midwest City comes to town, must-win kind of deal. What else are your thoughts?
Well, it's just a great night to come out because it's such a night of appreciation, gratitude, and recognition. Last home game for a year, so last opportunity to go out to Selby Stadium. The weather's been beautiful. I can't think of a better thing to do on Friday night.
It has been.
And so hopefully we'll have a big crowd there supporting our kids one last time. It's been fantastic this year. So grateful for the way we've gotten supported this year. It's been exceptional.
Coach, appreciate your time, and have a good week in practice, and we'll see you next time on Plainsmen Football.
Sounds good. Thanks, Steve.
And we appreciate you joining us on Plainsmen Football 2016 with Steve and Steve. And again, if you have a question for Coach Steve Hayes, simply send us an email at asksteve@enid.org, and we'll make sure that Coach Hayes answers that question just for you. Again, appreciate your time today. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time on Plainsmen Football 2016 with Steve and Steve.
Thank you for watching Enid Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve on ETN.